So thank you
Vale.
very much again for inviting me. I think it's a great opportunity to speak to peers about what has been my journey in this big family of actions and initiatives that we call environmentalism. A little bit more about myself. Professor Rizzo very kindly introduced me. So basically, I am just a student, an Italian student based in Rome. And I did nothing but progressively take interest and take action on things that I thought were a duty rather than a simple leisure. So when I was in the second grade of high school, I was doing a liceo classico, the Albertelli Classical Lyceum here in Rome, and I started to investigate some of the environmental projects that were in Europe, because I've never ever thought of actually going out there or picking up trash in my own cities. I just thought that was the status quo, something unchangeable, something that could not be prevented from students, from common citizens. As I mentioned in my TED Talk, my first big experience was when I flew to Belgium and I joined an environmental project. I didn't realize that the average age was between 25 and 35. I was 17. And I had the great opportunity of spending 2 weeks talking to people from all across the world, for people from El Salvador, Peru, people from Taiwan. Everybody converged into the same space under the same belief that we ought to change something. We had to change how we think of common actions that instead have a radical impact on our lives. Why can't I do anything here in my own city? Why do we have to take a plane or take a train, travel to somewhere other in Europe to meet people that basically share the same thought? Every single place has to be preserved. Biodiversity is important, not per se, but for the future of our species. And therefore, I decided to create my own little reality. Back in December 2019, I founded Environmental Action Rome. It started off as an informal committee, a group of students, as you may be. We just started discussing about which were the problems in Rome, how we could possibly think of changing something. Well, right now we are a group of 34 volunteers, so we are relatively small. But what we realized is that we should be able to change things if we enact a vision of holistic environmental action. What do I mean by holistic environmental action? First, when we talk, for instance, about trash, it's not about cleaning things. It's about changing how waste is managed. So our first goal is to redevelop how city planning works in Rome. Second is that we realize that there are already a lot of organizations and committees that are actually active, that do this kind of stuff. There are a lot of passionate people, not spread in Europe, but here in your own neighborhood. The problem is that there lacks communication. So our second goal was, and currently is, to try to gather and map all the existing organizations in Rome to maximize our own impact. The third is that people shouldn't be self-educating about those things, right? We shouldn't get to reach the level of environmental awareness that we have because of personal researches or studies. These are things that are pivotal for our own existence. These are things that are pivotal across boundaries, across societies, across cultures. It cannot be left to individual enterprise. So our third goal is to educate, and we still do it. We are trying to garner as much information possible from all our partners to create free and accessible courses to all students. And fourth, we know that we can do it just being an organization. We know that there should be some form of government in Rome. Sometimes people in Rome say Rome is not governable. That is true. That is true. There's no such thing as a government of Rome. What we should aspire to create is a sense of governance. We should be able to create an environment where synergies and cooperation is not an exception, but a norm, where municipalities actually actively foster cooperation and collaboration between different groups. And therefore, our fourth goal is to reform the laws that are already in place for Rome and for Italy. The problem again is we're a bunch of 30 university students. How can we possibly do that? Well, we decided to partner with another organization, which is called Rome, with the H. They are a cultural association, and we created a project, Rigenera Roma. This project has been presented before the Regione Lazio, and we're now seeking funding for 7,000 euros. Our goal is to focus on 4 key actions. The first one is to, again, organize urban redevelopment, engage citizens in taking possession of their spaces that maybe are left to a bad or poor waste management, spaces that are not being taken care of, if not by small businesses. This is the first goal. The second one is the creation of the so-called Council of Sustainability, which I also mentioned in TEDx. The third is environmental education, and the fourth is regenerative urban planning. So taking advantage of the spaces that have been abandoned. In Rome, there are a lot of places, from little parks to infrastructural architecture that has been just left there and cannot be used, where there are a lot of organizations that might immensely benefit from having headquarters, from being able to do volunteering with a single spot. First, the Council of Sustainability. Well, this is probably our most ambitious project. So we realized that if we were to reach out in Rome to the already existing entities that operate in the field of sustainability, and don't you think that they are only little volunteering organizations? We reached out to companies, firms, startups, universities. We even have a link to the United Nations. Because this idea of creating partnerships for sustainability is not only innovative, but is absolutely proven to be effective. The thing is, we cannot fight climate change, we cannot fight sustainability, as we can't fight any large-scale phenomena that, however, have local implications, if we don't realize that we have to network, we have to cooperate. This is why we decided to create this platform, where we invite organizations, both profit and non-profit, both organizations and individuals, to come once every 2 months to talk about, first, how we can improve Rome by sector. So we divided Rome, again, according to the municipalities, and we are starting to look into roundtables, which are the priorities and the strategic interests of those groups. And second, which are the resources that each organization produces for free. And it's not only a matter of firms. Firms, for instance, have an enormous amount of information that they require to do some business. Well, if we consider that non-governmental organizations rise out of a collective need, well, there is the kind of information. So we have this kind of zero-cost information exchange, zero-cost know-how sharing that enables us all to create a better Rome and increase the social value of what we do, of how we spend our time. So we write on paper what we want to do within that year, and then we just monitor how these cooperations and synergies work out. At the end of the year, we publish a report that will be sent to the Ministry of Environment, to the Municipality of Rome, and also to the platform of the United Nations for the goal number 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals, for how we propose to move forward. The result is that from a bunch of 30 university students, we managed to speak to institutions. So when you think that, for instance, you can do anything when it comes to big problems, that is just not factually true. You have to reach out, look for other like-minded people. And this is just one experiment. You can imagine how many different combinations of synergies and proposals you may come up with if you just thought it out. We started with San Lorenzo, and we decided to go and reach out to local bars. And we were just asking, surveying the field, which are the major problems? which are the major pollution creators. So for instance, youngsters on Saturday nights, rather than AMA that doesn't come very often, rather than businesses that don't clean up after themselves. And we identified 3 key areas, and we decided to converge all the organizations that are active in Rome in general, not even in San Lorenzo, to converge all in San Lorenzo for 1 month. And this we'll be doing all year round for 10 months a year. With this project, we are trying not only to repair the immediate short-term problems that poor urban planning has brought to life, but also to see if our individual or organizational efforts are successful. If they're not successful, then we can just propose to the Rome City Council how to move forward, which are the resources needed, without any need for them to do any research. We already done that, we already proven that, and we know how to move forward. This is the innovative side of the Council of Sustainability. And the great thing is that while operating normally, all these organizations, as I mentioned before, produce some kind of information. While that information, if fragmented or just dispersed, is useless, because some organizations may not benefit from a specific research, or may not benefit from a survey they launched in order to test their product. Well, we are deciding to try to create an online database where we merge all those information to create inclusive, free, and accessible environmental education programs. And now, once COVID is hopefully over, we will be going around schools, trying to deliver those, trying to promote sustainable startups, social innovation practices that have to be advertised in some way because they are innovative, they're profitable, and also they create social value. So this inclusive system will allow each and everybody of us, each and everybody single entrepreneur, individual, student, to create an impact. Well, you might ask, but okay, Giacomo, that's wonderful, but how can I act? I mean, I don't have time, I don't have resources, I don't have knowledge. It's extremely simple. Today, I wanted to propose to you just 3 small actions you can do. First, try to look in your own area. What are the active organizations? Become an activist. As I mentioned yesterday to some other students, being an activist doesn't mean being out in the square protesting 24/7. Everybody is making an impact. Everybody, by just living, breathing, and eating, we're making an impact. We have a carbon footprint. The question is, which kind of impact do you want to make? What kind of outcomes do you want your activism to yield? The second suggestion I will give you today is try to inspire your peers. I have been trying to do that as much as I can. Whenever you see that there is a possibility for discussion, try to capitalize on that. When there is discussion, we can foster a sense of community. When we can foster a sense of community, we can foster cooperation. If there is one takeaway from this, is that nobody can achieve anything alone. Even the great leaders are supported by great communities. So the second idea is that if you're interested, reach out. Talk to me, for instance, your professors have my contacts. Just be engaged, trying to inspire as many people as possible. And the third is that you have some time, sooner or later, to enact the change. It might not be environmental action. It might be, again, Rachel Carson decided to be a pioneer in the scientific description of what is a contemporary problem. Well, that was the change she managed to enact, awareness. Decide which is your change. Decide which sector of reality you want to modify, and speak up.
Our world desperately needs this kind of energetic, knowledge-driven, and inclusive model of climate leadership. These citywide coalitions have all it takes to guide climate action, to inform policy decisions, and most importantly, to radically change how we think of climate activism with a more inclusive and multi-stakeholder approach. As you walk out of this room, remember two things. First, don't ever be afraid to voice your fears for our common future. Social change can thrive if and only if we manage as a species to convey a sense of urgency. Second, you're not alone. You're not alone against this titanic, seemingly invincible enemy that is global warming. Look around you. Find a friend in your local universities, and as the starting point to build networks that then are able to combat and defeat our common climate Goliath. As the former Secretary General to the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, said, "We are the first generation to be able to end poverty, but we are the last generation that can take steps to prevent the worst impacts of climate change." We must enable universities to become the harbingers of climate action. Our planet will be grateful.